segment is brought to you by Powerade. Pause for power with Powerade. Minute Maid. Real like you're at home. And Dasani. Connect mind and body.
Welcome back to the Sportsmax Zone. We turn our focus to basketball and the NBA. Dallas Mavericks ended their 4-game losing streak on Tuesday after they edged the Golden State Warriors 116-113 at American Airlines Center. Luka Doncic led the way for the Mavericks, logging 41 points, 12 assists and 12 rebounds for his 8th career 40-point triple-double. We have the highlights.
Scoring punch the Dallas in the end. Dallas beats Golden State. Luka wins the individual battle. He had 41. Steph had 32.
This is the third time this season Luka Doncic has registered a 40-point triple-double. In fact, he needs only one more such performance to equal Oscar Robertson's record of the most 40-point triple-doubles in a season before turning 25. He has 62 games to do it. Well, Lance, as the games continue in the regular season, Doncic continues to make a case for the regular season MVP award. He's playing like he's unguardable.
Yeah, he was number 3 in scoring last season to Embiid and Giannis, I think. Number 1 at the moment.
Yes.
And almost unstoppable. As we say, the season is pretty long, so there are injuries and other factors that you've got to consider. But at the rate at which he's going, because he's averaging 33.4, I think, per game at the moment, which is significantly better than everyone else. The next best is, I think, 31 or somewhere around there. So
yeah.
On this current trajectory, he's putting his hand up for sure. And he's a good enough player at 6'7" and 23 years old. A lot of energy to suggest that there isn't any reason, once fit, that he can sustain this for the season.
Yeah, and it's one thing to get these numbers against weaker teams, but Luka Doncic coming up against Steph Curry, and Steph Curry, his stats speak for itself, and of course he was able to outplay them last night. I mean, a very close margin, but still getting the job done.
Yeah, and good to see so many outstanding players coming out of the European circuit. He, of course, from Slovenia, and there is a pretty long recent history of players from Europe coming into the NBA and doing really well.
Yeah.
So he's a very, very solid player. And this is so far, at this point in the season, his best season, or the best start that he has had to a season. But he has, for the past couple of seasons, shown himself to be a very potent player. Yeah,
just hoping he stays fit, because you know how these injuries occur when there's a long season. Here's what the Mavs head coach, Jason Kidd, said after Doncic's 41 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assist performance against the Warriors. It's getting boring. I mean, let's see something different. Maybe do it with his left hand. I'm just joking. Look, he's one of the best in the world, and that's what he does. Some of us can take him for granted. The man is special. I think there's no disputing him for how special he is, Lance, especially at this young age. Luka Doncic, he's been a name since entering the NBA that has always been making the headlines. And of course, it's for, 1, his athleticism, and 2, the number of points that he's been scoring.
Yeah, and when opposing coaches, so liberally shower you with praise, it tells you that you command a lot of respect. Because psychologically, some coaches may hesitate to, heap praise on an opposing player, knowing that, well, Kidd is his coach. But
yeah.
We've heard coaches so far this season
say good things about him.
Talk about how good he is. So, it speaks to his quality, and I think he, as I said, has a big season ahead of him.
Yeah, well, the NBA has begun placing more emphasis on traveling violations this season. Several travels were called through calls. Some go your way, some don't. I guess the NBA is making an emphasis on plays like that. I don't know if it was a travel or not. I haven't seen it, but it's gonna be really interesting to see. Like, if we're gonna call that now, we gotta call it all the time, because it happens 30 times a game. Guys change pivot feet. So I'm really happy the officials are going to emphasize it, but you gotta be consistent with it. So what's for sure is the NBA has been taking a big move, Lance, in ensuring that, players don't violate the rules. And in this case, the travel is one that they've been monitoring. What coach is saying is that he hopes it's fine once the rule is fair across the board. He doesn't want it to apply in some cases and not in others. And that also happens a lot.
Yeah, well, it's a case of things being overlooked sometimes. And I saw it recently in an international match, or was it maybe just a league match in Europe, where one of the referees called for a foul throw in football, which we hardly see anymore, because foul throw is something you hardly see referees call, even though I see many instances where footballers foul a throw. So traveling is something that we've seen over years being overlooked. We see it happen and the refs just overlook it, which I think the point here is being made that they need to be consistent. If you're going to do it, you have to do it consistently, because traveling is a breach of the rule. It is a rule if you do that.
And Lance, I think the point comes up for discussion because at the point in time in the game that it occurred, because remember, they were very close, the score was extremely close. And
they would have gone ahead.
Yeah.
I think Steph Curry was in a position to put them ahead,
Exactly. So, coach, of course, coming out and talking about it, because many a times throughout the game, it happens and people overlook it. But when it affects the result of the game, it becomes a problem.
Yeah, and as I said, you cannot technically argue against it because you know the rule. And if a player travels, you breach the rule. So I don't think you can argue with conviction against it. But if it is that you see a lot of other players doing it and not being called, and you see your player at crunch time being called for it, obviously you're gonna be questioning it and you're gonna be upset.
I think that's why Steve Kerr phrased his response in that way. He said he didn't see, so he doesn't know. But all he's saying is he wants it to be consistent. Do we take a look at the results now from Tuesday? Okay, so we have the Knicks winning against the Pistons Mavericks, as we told you, securing that win against the Warriors, and the Clippers clipping the Trailblazers. All right, before we leave viewers in Trinidad and Tobago, here's your chance to win a trip for 2 persons to attend the 2022-2023 All-Star Weekend in Utah, United States of America, in our Take Your Shot promotion. Watch the NBA Live on SportsMax to get a chance to scan the QR code, which will give potential participants more information to tell them how to participate.
This segment was brought to you by Powerade. Pause for power with Powerade. Minute Maid. Real like you're at home. And Dasani. Connect mind and body.